You've just entered the bear crawling nation on the No Agenda Stream.
This is R. Mordant McFall, and welcome to the other side of live. Welcome everyone to the #1 late night success freaky motivational show, otherwise known as the other side of live. Tonight we are live and kicking it from both Robert, Louisiana, and the Bears Den in Monticello, Georgia. And in the Bears Den, coming out of hibernation, is the dark side of positive, Charles McFall. Say hello, Charles.
Hey, I was grumpy before the show. I'm tired. You're tired. I thought, okay, what do we do to not be tired? We start messing around. So I had to start early. So there we go. We're messing around.
That's awesome. And what's even better is that thank you for the lovely internet that we have happening tonight, because you're clipping as far as I can hear you. So I may actually have to call in. That'll make it lots of fun.
Well, our phone number is 218-632-1724. You can call us at the end of the show. We have this nice special place for all the live calls that come in. That's where we'd read emails and play your speak pipes. But we used that today for our company meeting, didn't we? We used that number, and it went pretty well, I thought, quality-wise. What do you think?
I thought it went very well. I really liked how everything sounded. I was able to understand, and that was a good thing.
That was a very good thing. So ask me. I know you have your opening set, but I want to jump it just a little bit. Ask me about visualizations.
Hey, Charles, why don't you tell me a little bit about visualizations?
I always get what I want. It's not always in the way that I expect it to come. Just like NMX, we got turned down for speaking, and I was shocked because usually when I feel so strongly about something, when I can see it happening, it happens. I've not had it not happen. That is actually still in the mix. We talked about that last week a little bit. But I've been telling everybody all along, my wife and I both, we have teamed up on this one. We made the universe our something that I don't want to go back and beep. I should put the censor beep on our sound button board. That'd be fun. Anyway, so we've been saying all along, we had an older son and a daughter, and they were 18 months apart. So then we took a break for a while. Then we had my baby boy a little over a year ago, and we planned it. We said, as long as we feel like we're going to have two kids, more kids or another child, whatever, we like them to be close together because of how the older siblings worked out being close together. And sure enough, almost to the day, without trying to do it that way, almost to the day, it worked out to be perfectly 18 months apart. All along, we said we're going to have a balance. Older son, older daughter, younger son, younger daughter, and everybody around us. Now, I'm not talking about my podcasting family. I'm not talking about our lovely listeners and my friends. I'm talking about actual family and people that meet us, at church or on the street or wherever, those kind of things. And they say, oh, what are you having? Oh, we're going to have a girl. Oh, really? How far along is she? Well, she's only 3 months. Wasn't that early? Yes. Our good friend Amanda Stanton, she the other night was conversing with me, and she was actually being honest. She thought I had picked out a name. She goes, what did y'all pick out if it's a boy? I said, we didn't. It's not a boy, it's a girl. We didn't pick out. Sure, and her whole family, my wife's whole family, doubted. And I have to say, in a nice TOSOL kind way, eat it! Because we got the ultrasounds today, and it's confirmed a girl. Universe, you work for me now.
So what's the name that you've given to the girl?
Zoe. We're going to call our daughter Zoe. We're still going back and forth on the middle name, as we tend to do. We tend to kind of go back and forth on the names until it just is universally right. Some people say it just feels right, whatever. I've gotten used to saying, yeah, it's a universe. We get it. We listen. And so we're still working on the middle name, but she's going to be called Zoe. Probably call her Zoe all the time because I'm lazy.
Well, Zoe could be a guy's name, too.
Yeah, okay.
I think you played the odds there a little bit. You got Zoe, you call her Zoe Lynn McFall.
Androgynously gay duo. Anyway, no, I didn't know that could be any guys there. I haven't heard of it before. I've only heard of it as a chick. So, yes. So, there you go. I was very pleased to make that announcement tonight.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
on the girl, prom dresses and paying for weddings. And
that's why we're in Success Freaks, man. Weddings are going to be nothing when it comes time for them to marry.
There you go. I was going to say, and a lot of gun cleaning, too.
I've got the older siblings to help with that. If you get through all the siblings to me, you must be doing something right.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Now, although you have done this before, last week on TOSOL number 72, it was called Venturing Through Undiscovered Country. So, talked a little bit about how, you know, we're going to be putting on our conference in June, and we've never done that before, and we've never done a lot of the stuff that we're doing, and sometimes talking about how people, when they want to try something new, it just, you know, they don't even know what that looks like. So that's almost like you're blazing the trail. I had a lot of fun with that episode last week. How about you?
I've been so swamped this week. I'm trying to remember what we talked about. I know the overall what we talked about. I know in my fuzzy brain memory right now, I remember feeling good after the show. But it just feels like a lifetime's passed since last week. So I thought it was great. It was awesome. It's the best show we ever did. I'm sorry, I'm losing my professionalism.
It affected me. It was better than Cats. So tonight is another of our Success Freak shows, and tonight is entitled, of course, Once More with Feeling, because we've gone this whole year working with Double Your Income, Doing What You Love, Raymond Aaron and Sue Lacher's book. And now we're just kind of going over what that year was like for us, you know, the how far we've come, what we're looking for the new year, and things like that. I think we're going to do, at first we were going to do this a very, very heavy, all right, here's how you start everything up again. And now we've had a lot of stuff going on this week. So we're going to kick back a little bit and just shoot it back and forth. That's my plan. How about you?
I don't ever plan to be shot back. If I shoot, it's only in one direction. So so we can work on this. We can do this. We can. I think this is the most preparation for a show that I've ever done. You know, printed out the forms. I sat down. Granted, last night. Well, actually, yesterday I started in the afternoon and then moved into the night after I did some things. But I sat down and wrote out some goals. I wrote out the annual love letter. I filled out these forms. And you know me. I'm a huge tech guy. I love everything me Google Docs and access it anywhere I am from my phone or tablet or computer. But sometimes there's just something to be said about sitting down with a piece of paper and a pencil and actually writing things out, seeing how it looks, erasing it, and just getting your hands dirty. And that's what I did. So I am ready to go.
All right.
Oh wait, so I'm almost ready to go. Here we go.
Success Freaks. Success Freaks. Success Freaks.
So have we decided to keep that jingle for next year? We're going to try to pull out something else.
I was just going to ask you. I don't know. We tend to change up our music every year, and we launched this the first of this year. As much as I love the annoyance that it brings with the Spice Girls, it still gets in your head. I think it's fun, but there's a lot of people like, oh my God, Spice Girls. But there's also people like, oh my God, Spice Girls. And that'd be our Mordant McFall, but that's okay. We'll have to talk about that. I don't know what to do. I'm not sure.
Groovy. So what you got, Mr. Man, Mr. I am more prepared than I've ever been for a show.
I'm prepared to let you lead, and I'll tell you stories. That's what I'm prepared to do. Oh, let's see. Well, we talked today. Let's talk about life a little bit, building up to this. The whole idea of this particular Success Freaks is to wrap up everything we've gone over this year from the book, Double Your Income, Doing What You Love, and really share our insights and our experiences. Even though we've been doing that somewhat all through the year, we're at the end. We're getting you ready for January of 2013. And there's annual love letters and backwards goals and life missions. But this is December. And this is the last one of these we're going to do this year. That's why we went ahead and did it ahead. So you could have this as a reference for when you're planning your year. In January, you write this, and we'll get into it. And I don't know about you, Mordant, but I feel like I'm just sitting around doing nothing from Thanksgiving until New Year's. How about you?
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
I know, right? It's been, both of us have been struggling to keep everything together. And we just want to let you know we're human too, man. It's between family and Christmas shopping and other plans and work. And now we've got Toastmasters, which, you know, proud to say Success Freaks is brought to you in part by Toastmasters of Rockdale Conyers. It's awesome because they are teaching me a lot there. Love to be there. But it's you're working with Success Freaks, and that's picking up. No Agenda Stream's picking up. It's been a holy crap. When do I write this? I have to finish a speech I'm giving next week. I wrote that out partially last night. I wrote out these things. How are you finding time? What's going on in your life right now that's keeping you busy?
Well, other than everything that's happening here with Success Freaks and with the other side of life, I'm getting ready to I'm still closing down my Renaissance year here at the Louisiana Renaissance Festival. We're in Hammond, Louisiana, just north of New Orleans. Not a big deal. It's usually kind of a laid-back show for us, and we have a very good time. I stay at a house. We call it the Hauser Hotel because the family's name is Hauser. And there's all these people that stay here, and it's become my Thanksgiving family dinner. When that happened, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see pictures there of everything. So it's a great experience for me. But now the Tortuga Twins are doing our first ever Christmas show, and probably last ever Christmas show, that we're going to be performing on December 14th in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's not a plug. It's sold out. There are no more tickets to be had. But
not true. Not true. I heard one get returned, and you're doing a really cool giving back, kind of contest.
Did you hear that? Because I haven't.
Oh,
That's awesome. Okay. Are we doing that?
I don't know. I just wanted to say I think you guys do cool things, and you really take care of your fans. That's why I wanted to point it out. That's what I heard today was that somehow somebody couldn't make it, so they returned their ticket, and there's going to be some kind of contest for it, which is you really do take care of your fans. I think that's why you've had such a big following for the last 400 years.
Well, the one thing that I had heard about is that somebody wasn't able to attend, and they wanted it to go to a military person. And we actually had somebody from the military that wrote in and said that they wanted to go. So I think we're hooking that up. So that there may be another ticket out there, but I don't know. That's not what I'm paying attention to. There's all this other stuff going in, and just like if you ever seen the movie Shakespeare in Love, and there's a conversation between Fennyman and Henslow, and Henslow is trying to explain the theater business to Fennyman. He's like, it's imminent disaster, on the brink of ruin, and Fennyman's like, well, what do you do? And Henslow goes, well, nothing, because oddly enough, it all works out. And Fennyman goes, well, how? He goes, I don't know. It's a mystery. And it's true. I've done theater shows before where something has gone wrong, and you have these people who are rehearsing all this time, and suddenly somebody gets hurt, and somebody else can step in. We had somebody for this show drop out because he's got a real film career and a real TV career, and they extended his contract, which is great for him, and we understand that. But we were left very close to the show going, we don't have a guy for this character. It's at the very end, and it's a small part, but it's a pivotal part. Fortunately, we found somebody within a couple of hours, and that was good. There's other fires that are coming on that we're putting out left and right, and there's a lot of work going on. We've got all the Tortugas are also being stretched really thin because we've got our other projects that we're working on. D'Angelo, Jeff is in Florida working on his decorating elves business. So he's out of the picture for a while until he can, get down off a roof. All this stuff is going on. We are having our Success Freaks meeting, and then towards the end of it, I just kind of lied down and I was listening to it because we were talking. It wasn't so much businessy stuff; it was other stuff. There were times where I faded in and out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm really tired. I didn't realize how tired I was. So I went upstairs afterwards, took a shower, and it helped, revitalize me. And that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Well, playing off of that, talking about that, we're both busy. We're both doing these multiple things. But I think where I am in life is a little bit different, as I had to learn a long time ago to let go of more and more stuff. I think you're going through that now. You're finally having people you can trust to let go. Something you said today showed how much you've learned in this year, not just with goals, but this is one of your success freaky moments. Normally, this is a rough quote, 'cause I don't remember word for word, but this is basically what our Mordant Mon said at the end of the meeting. Normally, I'd be really freaking out right now because there's just so much stuff going on. And when my mind starts to freak out and I think about, and then I go, oh, no, that's being taken care of. Or, oh, no, wait, somebody else is handling this here. And you just have to check in on it and give a little bit of input, and it's letting you relax a little more. So maybe those moments come where you sit down and you go, wow, I'm really tired. And your mind can go, I'm going to take a nap for a minute because everything else is working forward. And that is a very much a success freaks principle, I believe, because it's not just about writing goals. It's not just about what can I do this year. One of the major principles we learned is delegation. That's but right. Also what Dr. Wayne Dyer says is move forward and know that the right people will be there at the perfect time. And that's what you've been doing, failing forward. You've been moving forward into the unknown. Your travels, your learning this year seems to have been that, the moving forward without knowing. And I think you've done very well. And I just wanted to bring that out to show the reality of who we are as humans and the fact that we don't just preach it, we live it.
Yeah, that's right. I certainly have learned a lot of that this year. And when the need was there, people stepped up. I mean, we have our Success Freaks team, which I'm so thankful for. There's some of them, are cross-pollinating over into the Tortuga Twins and helping us with that stuff. And I'm very grateful for that. And things are moving forward pretty well. I'm exhausted today, but I'm not frazzled, where I would be, where I'm not panicked. How about that? I'm not panicked. And that's a good thing. When it came to tonight's episode with everything that needed to be done, I was looking at everything and go, why don't we just talk about it? Why don't we just have that conversation? That'd be awesome. So that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Now the goals, see, this is why goals are important. It's a whole, okay, I guess enchilada is the best way to put it. When you make an enchilada or you eat one, if you've never eaten one, what is wrong with you? They're beautiful, beautiful pieces of food. But it's not just a wrap. It's not just meat. It's not just anything else that you would put in it, cheese, whatever you put in your burritos or enchiladas or take a hamburger. Let's go all American here. It's not just a piece of meat. Usually people put buns, condiments. That's your life. You're building your life. So writing your goals is not the end-all be-all of everything. Moving forward is not the end-all be-all of everything. Getting frazzled and letting go. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to go, I need a break. I have to just step back. It's not the end-all be-all. This is all together. We're teaching you parts. And so I really wanted to touch on, we're busy like every other human being is right now. The show comes, man, it comes so fast sometimes, especially in these last couple of weeks of the year where so much is going on. I look up and it's like, holy crap. Yesterday afternoon I went, holy crap, I have Toastmasters tonight. And I was supposed to be doing something for it, which ended up not happening, which was fine. But then, next Monday is going to be speech time. They'll look up and go, holy crap, tomorrow's Tuesday. We have to get this stuff done. And the show's coming up on top of work and on top of everything else like you're doing. So we just want to, I really just want to emphasize, I always want to emphasize, no matter how you view us, no matter how we come across, we do try to share our success. We do try to share our steps in a follow us kind of leading role. But also, we also share our failures. And luckily this year, we really haven't had a lot of failures. We've had some, but we've had
some hiccups.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. I'll take that.
We've had a little stumbling, some hurdles that we didn't quite make it over. Most of it was just, I think, the hurdles in our way that we learned how to get around. Maybe tonight was a hurdle that we didn't quite get over, everything, because there's just so much else going on. But being able to share that with everybody is also part of being successful, I think. Here, this is what it looks like when we stumble. Look, we're getting back up again. Look, we're laughing at ourselves. We're not taking ourselves too seriously. Remember, this is supposed to be fun. And it is on some level. When I was in all my work, I'm like, I got to remember, I'm having a good time with this. I have to remind myself I'm having fun figuring these things out too. Because if it's all just frantic pulling out my hair. That's no fun at all.
Right.
And I'm not going to make good choices or figure things out if I'm stuck with that.
You know, we do talk about, and I didn't even mean to bring this up. I mocked the person who said it today. I was picking on her a little bit, but we do talk about the thing that you love, that you would do for free all the time. That's your passion. I think the flip side is a fear mentality of this, where I've heard it said when somebody, my brother-in-law, he used to be this super talented artist. He could draw all kind of different pictures. He could do tattoos. He could draw people, sketch artist. You know, he was just amazing in how he could do things. And I was trying to encourage him, as I always have in my life. I've done it in different ways. But anytime I see somebody who's really good at something, and I felt like I was good at nothing at the time. So when I found somebody who's good at something, oh man, get out there, live it, breathe it. If I had your talent, I'd be busting it every second of every day. And a comment that he made to me is, I never want to do this for a living. Why not? You're so amazing. You could sell your stuff. More than likely, with practice and refinement, you could probably get into a gallery or at least work for a T-shirt company. You know, you could do all kind of fun things where you're creative, you're free, you get to do what you love. And his comment to me was, the reason I don't want to do it for a living is as soon as you start getting paid for it, it becomes a job and then you hate it. Man, I've heard so many people say that, and that's such a heartbreaking thing because it's such a fear-based mentality. We've talked about over this last year the fear of success, but there's also the fear of rejection. There's the fear of failure. All of that, anything that you live out of fear is just bad. Because I'm living the life right now. Honestly, I used to be jealous of our Mordant McFall and his touring and his thing. And every once in a while that voice rises up in my head where he's like, we need to do this, this, and this, and this. I'm like, well, sir, not everybody gets to run around on tights all weekend. Some of us work. and he's like, yeah, think about what you just said and tell me about your life again. I'm like, okay, never mind. Because he's good like that. But
one of the things that you said about your brother-in-law, that I think on some level he's right, but it's just a phase because it does become work. It does become a job. Yeah. But then I think as you're getting better and you're developing the business behind it, you know, it's just a phase. It's like raising kids, says the man who doesn't have any. But I've been uncle all across this country, and I've watched enough people. It's like raising kids. You have them because you really want to have them, and at some point it's going to be work. That's a phase, and you'll go in and out of that, as you're growing and learning, and both of you growing together. So I think the same thing is if you found something that you love doing and you're turned into a business, yeah, at some time it is going to be a job. And you know, I love doing this Tortuga thing and jumping around on stage and acting a fool and getting paid for it. That's awesome. But there are days that's a job. And I don't necessarily want to do that job that day, but I do it. It's a great job. It beats digging ditches. You know, it's a great job, but don't think that it's not a job. I mean, we sweat and we work and you expend a lot of energy. And I'm not going to try to convince you that, my life's hard with this, but there are days where this fantastic job is a job. I've heard it said from film people, and I think that'd be a wonderful job where you're doing movies and being able to fly all over the world. But there are days where that's a job. Mm-hmm. You know, you're getting up at 3 a.m. so you can be in there for makeup at 4, and then you're finished shooting at maybe midnight. That's a job sometimes. Dude. But you get through that phase, and as you get better at it, as you get better at the job part of it, it becomes fun again.
You know, anytime that any of the behind the scenes of any movie goes, I had to be in makeup at 4 a.m. and sit in a chair for 6 hours to put this prosthetic on or makeup or your alien gear, whatever. 6 hours. I go, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'd love to do a little bit of acting. I've done some in the past. You know, I never want to be a star. I never wanted to work at it, but it'd be fun to make an appearance as myself or as a character based off of myself, blah, blah, blah. You know, I would love to have a walk-on role in the Tortuga Christmas. I'm just saying. But I never want to do that. That's work, where you have to take every commercial and really beat out thousands of other actors to get this little bit part. And then once you made it, and now you get this great role, and you're spending 8 hours in the chair to get makeup on, and another 4 to take it off, and you get 3 hours to sleep. No, thank you, sir. That's not for me. And that's where I think people lose sight of things. They see the dream. Oh, that would be so cool. I mean, the life I want of the rock star, the life I want of the movie star, is I want to do work really hard for 6-8 months of the year. Then I want to take 3 months where I sit in my very, very nice house with all the stuff that I want. And what my decision of the day is, do I play Borderlands 2 or some other game? You know, that's not quite how I'd work it, but you know, that's kind of how you feel sometimes. And I think people get caught on that dream. And then when they're faced with the reality of work, it destroys what they do. Maybe some people like just acting locally and feeling important, or feeling like they're a part of the community. Maybe people just love to sing in the choir at their church, and they're not destined to be Whitney Houston. But they try, and then, you know, quote unquote, they fail, or the dream dies. Yeah, I believe. What do you think, Mordant? Let me say this. Do you believe a dream can be killed or a dream can die?
And that's up to the individual. Of course, you can let it go. You can become complacent. You can just be like, oh, this is good enough. You know, or you can be daunted by the work that comes before you. You know, we'll always go back to Seth Godin in his book, The Dip. You know, you start with this ability or the natural talent or whatever, and then as you're turning it into something, becoming on your path to become the best of the best, it turns into work. And a lot of people shy away from that. And I think that, unfortunately, your brother-in-law might have used that as an excuse not to try. Now, maybe, I don't think he was afraid of the work. I think he was just not wanting to put himself out there. But some people, if they're afraid of the work, yeah, they can kill their dream that way. Oh, no, then I don't want to do that. Maybe that's not, maybe their dream, maybe it's not their dream to become the best guitarist in the world. Maybe it's their dream to sit back and get everybody liking them for being the best guitarist. Or maybe, you know, being on stage. I love being on stage and performing, and I have a really good time. But I got to tell you, being off stage and having people come up to me and say, wow, that was really cool. I like that part probably more, because that's a lot of fun. At times, there are times where I'm just like in Minnesota, where we have 3,000 people in the crowd and they're roaring at whatever we're saying or doing, and we're having fun. Nothing beats that yet. Not yet. Working on it. But I think, yeah, you can kill a dream. I think you can let it die.
And that's kind of where I was a little jealous. And there's been times where I've called you out on things, and it's fine, and you've called me out on things. But there was definitely a time when I'm like, man, I'm slaving away at home at my desk, you know, which is still a step out of the grind for sure. But I'm in this job that's just tedious and repetitive. And you get to go out to a new town all the time. I mean, there's always ups and downs, but you only see the good stuff sometimes. And then over the last couple of weeks, for some reason, maybe it's just the universe opening my eyes and letting me see where I am in life. But I looked around, and I finally said it out loud last night. I podcast full time now. I still make my money elsewhere, but I am fortunate enough to have a job that not only pays me well enough to pay all my bills and take care of everything I need taken care of, that they offer overtime from time to time to where I can do really cool, crazy things. And I sit here and I put in a good 30 to 40 hours a week on our show, on our site, on meetings for No Agenda stream, on what we're doing next on Success Freaks. And I look around going, I actually have it really good. I'm living the life. And you stop, don't you, Mordant, sometimes. I want you to come up with a moment while I'm talking of Success Freak, and where you stop, just have that realization going, holy crap, this year I started The Other Side of Live and Success Freaks with a whole lot of other stuff going on. This is me personally, and we just entered the No Agenda stream, and we were so excited, and the world was before us, but I was struggling to do everything I had to do, except make money. I was making money okay. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough where a lot of people have lost their jobs over the last couple of years, and I've only gotten better at my job. So I'm very grateful. But I stopped right now filling out these annual backwards goals of what's to come next. And I go, I'm living the life I wanted. Now, granted, it's not all the way there, because I'd love to get paid full-time to work full-time podcasting. But have you had that moment, maybe now, maybe in the last week or so, where you stop and go, Earlier this year, I envisioned all these things, and now I'm standing here going, holy crap, I achieved that and more. I just didn't realize it.
I don't know that it was this last week, but I remember looking back and realizing we had just begun working with the No Agenda stream just in January.
Right.
And I remember how nervous I was with everything and really weren't sure where we were going. You know, you and I were in a little bit of a state of flux as you were getting more in tight with them, and I wasn't sure what was happening. But jump a year ahead and look at where we are now, and look at what we're doing now. Look at what we're striving to doing now. Now the podcast, when you first came to me and go, we're going to have to do this every week now, I was like, okay, and I started planning it out. All right, we're going to have a guest every other week because I don't think we're going to have enough content for everything else. And now, you know, our better shows, although I do like having our guests, I think the people respond more when they're not there. So we'll have them on there once in a while because I like talking to people, because you like talking to people, but we've got plenty to say. And now we're talking about putting on the conference and everything else. So it's kind of mine was, wow, look how far we come. I wonder what's going to happen next year when we get another year under our belts.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the papers that I worked on tonight. And we're going to talk about what you worked on as well, because we worked on two different goal writing techniques for the year. And we actually worked on one the same, so we overlapped. Why don't you start with why we do what we do? You went to the love chapter. I
did. I went to, I think it was chapter 2, and it talked about your annual love letters to yourself. And what that is you figure out, without worrying about what somebody else is going to say, without worrying about what somebody else is going to think, you figure out exactly what it is that you love. And the method they talk about using, you have a friend sitting there going, what do you love? What do you love? One right after another. Boom, boom. What do you love? What do you love? And then you're just writing it down really fast. As he's sometimes, it's kind of a stream of consciousness thing. And sometimes you're going to get weird things like dogs on a skateboard, just weird stuff. But you can always get rid of that unless you really like dogs on a skateboard. I went and did mine again without somebody yelling at me, but I also had my list from last year, so I kind of compared them to, and where they crossed over into each other, I left them there, and then I added some new stuff and took away some of the stuff that wasn't really working. And I had, I think right now I've got a list of about 51 things here that I started, so that when we begin working on our goals, or if you're faced with a decision you have to make, whether it's, taking one job or another, or making one decision or another, instead of looking just at, well, how much money will I make? Well, where will I live? Look at, will this bring me closer to these things that I say that I love? Like one of the things that I love and I don't know why I'm not doing it, but I think because my life takes me elsewhere. I love Tarpon Springs, Florida, where I grew up. I love being in Florida, for one thing. As soon as I cross the state line, it's weird. My body reacts to it. And I've heard other people say, not just about Florida, but their home state, there's something about getting back into the area. You're just like, oh my God, I'm home. And I get that feeling a little bit in different places. Like this, North Carolina, I usually get it. This past year, I was driving around Minnesota when I just got there, and I'm like, oh wow, I love being here. So that's one of the things. If a job was going to take me somewhere to be somewhere and live somewhere, if I had a choice between that and somewhere that I've never been before, or, that doesn't seem very appetizing to me, I'm going to take the place that I love, even if the job might be a little better the other way, because it's all about being happy. It's all about taking responsibility for your happiness, for your experience in life. And that's what these love letters help you do. And it sets you up as you're finding goals for yourself and setting up goals for yourself. You're like, well, I'm not sure what I want. Okay, let me look back. What do I love? I say that I love this when nobody else was looking, when I didn't have to please the wife because I mentioned the dog before the wife, or I mentioned my car before my mother-in-law, or what. I don't have to please anybody. It's my list. This is the one I get to be selfish for, and I can be honest. I can choose to ignore it, but it's my list. Yeah. So I'm going to look at that, and it's going to help me build on the other things and some of the things like what Charles is doing and all the other goal writing systems that were in this book.
Exactly. If you don't know what you love, how are you going to know what you're going to do? You have to love what you do to be successful. Now, we learn to accept life sometimes. We learn to accept the in and out job because it pays the bills. Well, I love having my bills paid, so that's true. But do I love to speak more than that? Well, yes, I do. That's why you do that first. Then you do what I jumped to, which is the end of the book. Under annual backwards goals, you do your love letter to yourself. You do the letter to the you of last year. You write, Dear Charles, I'm just going to read mine. Dear Charles, who lived last year for me. So we're writing it now for December 31st, 2013. That's the date on my letter, December 31st, 2013. So this is as if we're sitting on next year's Success Freaks looking back going, wow, what have we done? You do it now. You write where you want to be so you can live the life. Dear Charles, who lived through me last year, as I review the past, I thank you for living through such an important year for me. Your success will now allow me to enter the coming new year without the drain of problems hanging over from the past. Some successes were difficult for you, requiring skill, concentration, planning, and effort. In particular, I noticed you used the skills of, and here's where you fill in the blank for yourself. I wrote some things I hope that I do this year. Recognizing and seizing opportunities. Keeping your focus on the long goals. Giving freely to others. Helping others without benefit to yourself or myself. And your lack of fear of the unknown. Wonderfully, and this is back to what Aaron Raymond has written. Wonderfully, though, some of the seemingly toughest successes occurred almost effortlessly. Also, you ensured that your goals supported your loves by linking each goal to the loves it supported so that you knew why you wanted to achieve each. I think that's the most important thing here to focus on. I'm going to read it again. Also, I'm just going to say we, it's me talking to my future self or my past self, whatever. We ensured that our goals supported our loves by linking each goal to the love that it supported, so that we knew why we wanted to achieve each goal. Also, it ensures that you did not inadvertently waste a year by forgetting to move closer to one of our listed loves. That's going back to the killing the dream for me. That's going back to why you do what you do. When I ask you, can a dream be killed? I see people who truly love speaking. Okay, take myself. I love podcasting. Now, had I made the fatal mistake that a lot of people do with small businesses and quit everything and got a loan and tried to get paid now to podcast full time, and I want to make a go of it and I can raise the money and I think people do that without opening their eyes. And then you lose sight of your love. You start working at something. Now you have to do this job. You have to do this quote unquote passion. Because if you don't, you have nothing. You lose everything because you invested everything into it, which I think is dangerous. At one point,
can you
go ahead? No, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say at one point, I really love building computers. I love working on computers. I usually build my own. I used to want to do that for other people. And at one point I looked at getting a small business, either a grant or a loan, to open my own shop. And then it would have to go from, I love building a computer and just doing all this cool stuff and knowing what it's going to do when I'm done, to I have to fix the stuff for the people who I think are retarded, who come in, my computer's broken. Well, quit looking at porn or how about you erase some things off your hard drive? Just little things. And I realized that my thoughts about people like that were very, very bad. And that's not how you treat your customers. And that's who customers are. They need your help. And so if I had gotten a loan and quit everything I did and invested everything in doing this computer shop, now instead of loving working on computers, I'm not working on computers. I'm running a business that has to succeed or I lose everything. I think that's how dreams can die. That's how loves can be smothered. And that's why this letter for me is important, because it says, again, we ensured that our goals are supported by Our goals support our loves by linking each goal to the love that it came from. So you always know why. When it gets tough, when it's work, when it's the hardest thing you've ever done and you want to quit. And I've been there with podcasting, to be honest. There's been times I'm like, I'm done. I'm so frustrated. I can't do this anymore. If somebody doesn't give me a hand to lift me up, I'm done. But if I had these goals, why am I still doing this? I would have remembered, because I love this. And that's why this letter is important. What do you have to say, sir?
Now, when we first started doing this book at the beginning of the year, and we did chapter 2, which was your annual love letters to yourself, it says to go back and do them every December so that you can rehash everything, so you can check it, because you change, your opinions change, etc. Now, all of going through this book, each thing on itself and culminates into the last goal setting tool, which I believe is what you were on. Does it say that you need to go back and redo all the other chapters, or does it have everything in that last bit?
Everything in this, there's another part to this letter, but it's not as important. But everything that came with this letter, and I printed it. If you email us at successfreaks@theothersideoflive.com, I'd be more than happy to share these forms that Aaron Raymond shared for free with us. So we're not stealing, we're not taking away from him. If you want these forms, we'll give them to you at no cost, of course. When I printed it, it printed out as part of the annual backwards goal is you write the letter. Then the next page is the goal page. And you're supposed to have 6 pages, each with 3 goals. I'm going to read one. You circle the letter from mainly, if you all remember. It's mainly is mess, acknowledgement, increase in wealth, new, learn, and yourself. We talked about that in one of our Success Freaks. I don't remember what chapter it is. Maybe, Mordant, you can look up the chapter real quick. I think it's 6, maybe. And now I'll tell you what month we talked about it. And while you do that, I'll tell you this goal. But this goal, everything's together. You don't have to go back through it, all the other stuff. Although, you do need to come back to what do you love. The what do you love chart from time to time to really, what comes out, what pops out. Maybe you love something new now because you started chasing this basic love and it grew into something more. Maybe you realized you only kind of liked speaking and you don't really love what goes with that. You much like acting. I like acting. I love watching people who are good at acting, but I don't love it because I sure enough don't want to go through all the stuff that the good people have to go through. Did you find the chapter?
For the 6 mainly?
Yes.
Yeah, it's chapter 6.
Chapter 6. So that'd be June. It'd be the first Tuesday in June, which is usually in the first 8 digits. So June, it'd be June. It's on theothersideoflive.com. There's a drop-down bar that lets you pick by month. And if you go to June, it should be the first episode where we talked about mainly. This has it all together. So here's the goal. I circled increased wealth. Annual goal number I for increased wealth, 1, because there's 3 goals here. So it's I1. I am proud. See, this is still as if it's December of next year. This is still backwards goal. So I'm writing it as I've already done it. And Mordant, you're going to be prepared to tell us why it's important to write it like you've already done it. But the goal is I am proud that I achieved my goal of getting paid to speak. Minimum, MTO, that's also one of our Success Freaks. Minimum, target, outrageous. Minimum, I achieved speaking once for the pay of blah. I'm not going to bore you with the details. Target is I spoke multiple times for a total of my number. And outrageous. And I did this one with my wife. So I'm actually going to tell you the whole one here. The outrageous goal of getting paid to speak is I achieved speaking throughout the year for a total of $100,000. That's not for a company. That's profit to me, which means we had to clear what, about 300,000 to 400,000 Mordant for that to be a profit for just me, right? So that's outrageous. And my wife threw that out. She was on board. Delegation is here to help me. The following person or company, and I put Success Freaks, provided the following specific service, motivating me and connections, basically opening doors and making ways for me to speak. Then, here's the important thing. See, it's all tied together. The loves I supported were speaking, teaching others, motivating, and improving lives. And the last line in this one goal is the bigger purpose for this support was helping others be awesome. So, yes, to answer your question, I believe as part of this letter and these goals, it's all put together in one place. Oh, shut it. We're talking, fool. We're not done yet. I meant to stop that before it got to 0. And because we got some more stuff to talk about. Why, Mordant, why is it so important that we're writing this in the past tense, that we did this December 31st of 2013? Why are we writing it this way?
Because what you think affects your reality. What you believe affects your reality. We talk about here on the other side of live and with Success Freaks, we talk about the law of attraction, how the universe actually reacts to you, and not so much to what you want or what you think on, although that does start it. It reacts to who you are and what you really, really believe. So if you're thinking, well, I want to do this, you're stuck in the want to do that. However, if you're thinking, I have done this, it makes it easier. You've already achieved it, so all you need to do is figure out how you got there. And if you look at quantum physics, all time happens at once anyways. So if you're going to do it, you have already achieved it. You just have to remember the future and how you did that. It helps you move it forward. Instead of going, well, I don't know if I can do this, so I'm going to hold back a little bit. There's that, I know I can do this, or I have to do this. You know, you watch when two football teams have their backs against, or one has their back against the wall, they have to do it to win, and suddenly they pull it out miraculously. If they had already begun giving up, or just going, oh, I'll worry about it in another game, they're not going to pull through, you know, unless they just get lucky. So I feel that if you really want to achieve something, it also has something to do with visualization as well. So if you believe you've already done it and you see yourself already there, you're actually going to achieve that. You're actually going to affect the reality around you. You're going to stir that quantum soup. And that's going to help you step into that reality to become that person that you see you are. Because if you believe you can do it, you're going to be able to do it. If you don't believe you can do it, you might stumble into it. You might get lucky, but not for trying, not in the easy way either. You're almost working against yourself then. So that's why I think.
And that ties into how, excuse me, that ties in directly to how we opened this show with my little girl. Because when we had a boy, and we didn't care, we didn't say it had to be boy, girl. When she got pregnant with my son, my second son, my third kid, we're like, okay, we really don't care. We have one of each. It's cool, however it works. However, whatever comes, we want the opposite for the next kid. So when we found out he's a boy, all right, the next kid's a girl. I'm telling you, I don't even know if you experienced this or not, Mordant, while you've been here off and on. But you asked us about what's going on. We'd tell you we're having a little girl. Are you pregnant yet? No, but we're having a little girl. It was like saying, I'm going to drink this cup of water, and I drank the cup of water. I mean, there was no questioning about it. And you could sit there. Anybody could sit there. The doubters can sit there and say, well, really, you had a 50-50 chance, or maybe there's some medical thing that says, here's the statistics, and this was no. You doubt all you want. You're only hurting you. You can't touch me because guess what? I'm having a little girl, and I knew that all along. That's what this is. When I write the goals, and my minimum tends to be a little more like a target, where it's hard to do it, but I can do it. So then my target becomes a little more outrageous. And then my outrageous is like, are you kidding me? But man, if you'd asked me last year this time, we didn't even know we were going to No Agenda. I barely started talking to the people at the No Agenda stream, and nobody else in my crew knew about it.
Yeah.
You know, it was, and if you'd asked me, where are you going to be in 1 year? I don't know. I don't even know if we're going to do this live thing here. I'm going to be podcasting. That's all I know.
Remember, we were doing it every other week.
Yeah.
Every other week and loving it. And
well, you were. I was doing it every week on my other show and loving that. Yes, we were happy with the way TOSOL was. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. People, tonight, you take one thing away from this. Where do you want to be in a year?
Where do you want? Yeah. What do you love, and how do you get there? You know, it could be a person, it could be a place, it could be a thing, it could be something that you've done. What do you love, and how do you get there?
Everybody.
I love being this. I love doing this. I love being with this, whatever.
This is for you, Mordant, because you're not a big lottery player. You don't buy tickets every week. You don't do the scratchers. As far as I know, you barely gamble, although I don't think you have anything against it. But anytime the Mega Millions or the Powerball, whatever, Powerball in the U.S. just got up to $500 million. Did you buy a ticket?
No, I didn't even know about it until after it happened.
Okay. But a while back, I think sometime last year or earlier this year, you and I were talking, and the Mega Millions had gotten up to 400 or 500, and you had bought a ticket. Don't you sit there just for a moment and let yourself go, what if? You're like, oh, what would happen if I won 400 million?
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
I do.
And you start having fun. It's just a fun moment of going, oh, man, I would do this and I would do that. And you start feeling it. You start for a moment, you let yourself let go of all the blocks. And you don't go to the reality of it, well, how would that affect my job? Well, you don't necessarily go there, but everybody goes, oh, what if? And you're like that kid at Christmas. What am I going to get under the tree? How awesome would that be if I got that coolest bike on the block or the newest TV? Or, you have that moment. That's when you write your goals, you got to be like that. Because when I talk about the million, it's not if, it's when. And my wife and I have those conversations all the time, and I got to tell you, every time we have a conversation about having $1 million, we talk about the reality of it, and we talk about paying off our debt and paying off our home and hiring an architect to build our next house and not dream stuff, not like I'm gonna go buy 3 cars and no, it's the reality. We transferred from what if and how cool, how many toys and blah 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 to no, this is reality because it went, and I'm not talking about lottery in the whole, I'm talking about our lives. It went from, well, if one day we're successful, or if one day you make it big, or we win the lottery, to no, when we have the money. And living that way has allowed me to take a dream vacation to Disney a year or two ago. It allowed me to go to Israel a couple of years ago. It has allowed for us to do Christmas beyond what we could have imagined this year. Because who's stopping you? Mordant, who's stopping the listeners from doing it?
Yeah, who's in your way? Who's blocking you? Who's keeping you back? Who's holding you down? Look in the mirror. It's that guy. It's that woman. Everybody else is just an excuse. The man's keeping me down. The government's keeping me down. Da-da-da-da is keeping me down. Nah, it's you. You're responsible for your experience. You're responsible for your own happiness. Now, maybe it's not going to look like you think it is, or maybe you're not going to get it the way you think it is, but it's up to you to figure out how to get there. Look at your list of what you love. First of all, find out what you love. Discover that. Give yourself the freedom to look at it and be able to tell yourself, I can also choose to ignore it. I just want to know what it is. I'm not going to show my wife. I'm not going to show my family. I just want to know what it is. So I can look at the selfish things as well. And then start whittling down and pick a couple of things to work with. Pick a couple of things to go towards. And look at that guy in the mirror and tell that guy to get out of your way because you're going for what you love. Exactly. And you're going to find a way to do it. And yeah, maybe it might turn into a job for a while. You tell yourself that's phase. How do I make this fun again? How do I make this still fun? What mental game do I have to play with myself like I personally did when I was working on stuff today? What mental game did I have to play so that I can keep doing this and not get frustrated with it? My mental game was, look, I'm figuring this out. There's a little bit of fun to this. I'm tired, but I'm enjoying it. I got to be careful that I'm not enjoying it too much, because if I am, I'm going to start creating that reality so that I'm always frantic. And that's not the reality I want. I want things to work out calmly and smoothly and good, so I can also have that rest time, because that is also what I love. To spend time with friends and family, that is also what I love. Not keep them blocked away from me with this wall of work that keeps me feeling busy and, oh, look, at least I'm a good boy because I'm behaving myself with this work because I'm supposed to be working on stuff. No, it's also I have to learn to enjoy the other stuff. Part of it is loving being with people, being social, and learning how to do that. There are times I work so much and it's just how do I let go of that so I can also be more balanced? Because that's what I love. So that person in the mirror, that's the one that's holding you down.
Do you want to talk about the life missions, which grows out of learning what you love? Or do you want to say that?
I want to touch on them a little bit because I worked on them today. Darn it.
Well, you're talking about, I'm going to set you up here. You're talking about the loves, the what do you love. And honestly.
Well, wait, before we do this, while we're getting into this, why don't we open up the phone line so that if people do want to call when they can?
That's a good idea. I'm going to put a 15-minute timer on. Okay, so the phone lines, 218-632-1724. As we wrap this down, we're going to talk about life missions. We're going to wind out. When we're done, please call in with anything. Talk about what's keeping you down. Talk about what do you love. Talk about the fact that we inspire you and you want to give us our first million. That would be awesome. Talk about anything you want. And this is for the podcasters, too. If you're listening on your iPod or on your computer or streaming from the site, wherever you're catching this, and it's not Tuesday night between 9 and 10:30 p.m. Eastern, call us. SpeakPipe is on theothersideoflive.com. Email us, Charles at theothersideoflive, Mordant at theothersideoflive. Hey, you guys at theothersideoflive.com. You should put the words in success. Anything you put at theothersideoflive. This is the time that we're going to read your emails, play your SpeakPipe. SpeakPipe uses your microphone on your computer. You can also dial 206-666-5458. It's straight up voicemail. It'll get a robot going, please send your fax now, or wait for it to be, it's this robot thing, but it's fun. Call it, leave a message, we'll play it. This is what we're doing at the end of every show. We're saving you 10 to 15 minutes of time. Now, of course, we're not just going to sit here and wait. So we are going to carry on with My Life Missions. But again, the live number right now, 218-632-1724. Tell us about your dream and let us help you. Tell us about anything you've learned from this year. Where are you different? So we talked about earlier, Mordant, you talked about the what do you love, what do you love, what do you love. Now, there's a space on there for like 20 things, which I get, but it's a little ridiculous because you really can't, on the same level, love all 20 things. You'll find through natural selection priority list. You've heard mine before. Family, work, speaking, podcasting, however you want to say it. But those are my three main loves, period. Everything else supports those things 100% of the time. That's what this My Life Missions is. Once you really narrow down, okay, now I'm surprised. I love this. I remember why I love being in Florida. Why am I not in Florida? Well, that comes and goes. We'll figure that out. But what about My Life Missions, Mordant? How does this help grow out of what do you love?
Well, one of the things that with the My Life Missions, it was what do you want to be known for? What do you want to have on your as your epitaph on your tombstone? Here was a great, you ever see it, father, husband, what, all those things. He had a great writer, whatever. What do you want on that tombstone? And for me, it was, they said to pick three things. And I went along with the same things as last year.
Okay.
Because they were good. I want to be a great motivational man. I want to be a great motivator. I want to affect people. I want to help others be awesome. I want to be a great entertainer or performer. And that goes on with the speaking as well as being on stage and being a goofball. So I like doing that. And eventually I want to be a great husband. I want to have that life mate that I'm going to have with me and that will take me to a whole different level of working on myself that I can't reach by myself. So those are the three things. And of course I broke it down into a few other things that I could be working on throughout the year. And it says, what are your life missions? What does that mean? Pick three things underneath that. And then what can you do this year to show that you're moving towards that? And then what can you do this month to be on each of those things to move towards? Now, so for my motivational, did you have something you want to say?
No, carry on, sir.
From a motivational man, working on books. Now, really, and I thought about it, any kind of inspirational content. It could be books, it could be video, it could be the audio stuff, but I had books here for now. And then, of course, working on TOSOL, bigger, better, more. I want to do that. Speechifying is what I've written here. Speechifying, become a great speaker. And then I put underneath that, Success Freaks Conference. So that's just the motivational guy. For the books, what can I do this year? Write them. Write the books. That's what I could be working on. Actually, I have write those biatches is what I've got here. Books, blogs, and speeches. For TOSOL, what I want to work on this year? Syndication. I want us to be in more places than just here. I want to be able to reach more people with that. For speaking, speak, boy, speak, woof. That's what I've got. The Success Freak Conference is another thing there. And now what can I do each month for the writing thing? Write 20 minutes a day, Monday through Friday. That's a small thing. If I can do that, though, I'm greasing the wheel, and I can write more than that, but do at least 20 minutes a day. And the same thing with speaking. Practice 20 minutes a day. So those were those things for the motivational man. Of course, the Success Freaks Conference is just, we're working on that. We're moving towards that already. Every time we have a meeting every Tuesday, we work on that. So that's that one section of what I want to be, for the year, and then for that first month, what am I going to do? And that will develop as the year goes on, because I'm going to move beyond learning how to speak to speaking, practicing my speeches, to taking it somewhere. In fact, I've already got in month 2 in February, I'm going to email Katie from Gangplank about doing a speech there. They have every Wednesday, they have something. And last year, the time just ran out. I wasn't able to do it, but I'm probably going to do fail forward there. So that's what I have for that. What about you?
Well, yes, I got some cool stuff. And please call in. This is not the part of the show where I'm just learning. No, this is the part of the show where you participate. 218-632-1724 is the live number. You can call in right now. That's 218-632-1724. Please email us your ideas, your goals, successfreaks@theothersideoflive.com. Just want to reiterate, this is not where you get in the habit of just listening. This is where you play. Okay?
Right. Please interrupt us.
Yes, absolutely.
Please. Stop us from talking. Stop us from talking again.
Just to point something out, everywhere you go in this United of States, you find a gym. And you might not do it as much as you want, but I've never known you to not be in an area to not at least go to the gym once, if not once a week. At least once. You're always talking about, because you're working on your body, because that's something that's important to you to stay in shape. Partially for your show, but I think it's important to you to be healthy. Why, with your speechifying, sir, why are you not finding a Toastmasters everywhere you go? Because they are all over the United States.
And you know what? That has to be one of my things too, because I really do love it. When I found one in Minnesota that I liked, and I went while I was there. In North Carolina, it got away from me, and with everything else I was working on, insert excuse here. So while I'm here in Louisiana for 3 weeks, I could have found them. I need to make that a priority. That's why I don't, because I don't make it a priority. Why doesn't anybody do anything? Because you don't make it a priority.
Sure. And the only reason
you fall in love with somebody and you want to take them out on a date, you make it a priority to call them.
And dude, I'm glad you said that. It's amazing. And the only reason I ask is because the only reason I took 2 years to finally get around to doing Toastmasters is because you had gone and you're like, dude, you've got to do this. You've got to do this. And you'd let it go for a while and you bring it up and you got to do this. And I'd look at it and I'm like, and I'd make excuses. It's not a priority. And finally the universe stepped up and you and my wife went, no, go do it. And I did it. And dude, it's amazing. And it gets us where we want to go. But you asked about mine. And here's what I love about the actual chart that you can print off, the My Life Missions. You, of course, in the U.S., we read from left to right. However, you write your goals here from right to left. So you start with, how do you want to leave this world? My 3 were successful speaker. I want to be thought of as somebody along the lines of Zig Ziglar and I'm losing some of the people we've heard. Bob Proctor, a very successful. When you think of successful speakers, I want to be in that group of people that automatically comes to mind. The other one is a legacy of leaders. I also have followed John C. Maxwell for a long time, and he has a book on leadership. And the best leaders in the world are the ones who make themselves irrelevant by teaching strong leaders who either take over for them and they move on to another company, or in reality what happens is these great leaders create other leaders who go out and create other great leaders. And that's what I want to do that with my family and with everybody that I can. I want to leave a legacy of leaders. And my third one is stolen line from Steve Jobs. I want to make a dent in the universe. I've always wanted to be remembered along the lines of Jim Henson, Steve Jobs. I don't know about Martin Luther King, people who stood up in moments of time and not always championed causes, but just with their vision of the world changed it. Sesame Street, still on, 30 years later? Over 30 years later. It's still going strong. It's amazing. The Muppets are amazing. Steve Jobs won't be remembered for Apple. He'll be remembered for all the things that he helped create. Those are my main three. And then it breaks down into what could I do in a year to support this mission. See how it works? We went backwards a step, but it pushes right back up to your love. It pushes right back up to your mission. What can I do for speaking? Let's just talk about speaking. I said I could speak at a conference. Well, we're talking about putting a conference on, right? I could be invited to speak for a group, outside of my comfort zone. And one of the other goals I said was I want to be invited to speak at a conference that I had nothing to do with prior. They found out about me, or like NMX, it's an open submission where I submit as somebody who doesn't really know me from anybody else. When I really like your style, I like what you put here, we want you to come speak. That's something I can do in a year. And then in a month, this will be for the month of January, of course, give more speeches at Toastmasters, do a live show at NMX is what we're hoping to do officially. And, of course, get some business cards that really pushes me out as a speaker, which is already in the process as well. So that's my one of my goals.
Now, I've created for the life missions goals, I've created an Excel sheet. One of the reasons we're doing these things, or you have your, here's my thing I want to do, here's what I'm going to work on this year, here's what we're going to work on this month, and then you keep reviewing, is that if you've ever set a goal before, you're like, oh yeah, I want to learn how to do this, so I'm going to go to Toastmasters, I'm going to practice my speeches 20 minutes a week, and I'm going to write for 20 minutes a day, and then I have all these other things I'm working on too. Now, maybe you'll work on a couple of those things, but then you'll kind of forget. What happens is when you're writing this down, or you're putting this in a computer program, or in a book, or whatever, or on a note paper, and you're looking at it, it brings it to your face. It's again that visualization of, look, this is what I'm becoming. And it forces you to look at it and go, have I done this month? Have I worked on this month? Instead of just trusting your memory to do it, because life's going to interfere. And I think we proved that tonight.
Yeah.
We were supposed to have all these highfalutin things that we're going to bring to you. Instead, we've turned it into so the things that meant the most to us, and how we dealt with life getting in the way. Life does get in the way, so that's why you set it up, so that you set yourself up to succeed. At the very least, you set yourself up to look at it and go, look, these are the things that I say that are important to me that I want to become. If I don't look at them, if I don't work on them, so much a week, at least a little bit every day, I'm going to let it fall through the cracks again. And then a year, I'm going to come back and I'm going to look at these things that I said I wanted to do and go, I didn't do anything that week or this year.
Right.
So that's why we create it like this. So that's why we set it up like this. There are some things that I had done from last year, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. Oh, and there it is. I can mark that off. Or the thing with emailing Katie from Gangplank about wanting to do a speech, I forgot about that, and now it's time to set it up again. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to set that up. I'm going to do this, which means I have to get ready for that speech. Oh yeah, I'm going to do that because it's in front of me. So you set it up so that you're going to do that, and you can track. Whatever you pay attention to grows. Whatever you track grows. So if you really want to work on something, set yourself up to succeed by whatever means necessary, whatever works for you.
And we are lucky enough to be surrounded by people who will help us do this. I know I've got a speech coming up next Monday at Toastmasters. It's going to be my first. It's the icebreaker. A week ago. So I gave myself 2 weeks. I said, you know what? In 2 weeks, I'll give my icebreaker speech. So I committed myself to come in. I don't back down. That's not going to happen. I'll make it up and if I have to. But I'm not going to come in and not give a speech. So, it's not going to be, well, life got in the way. I didn't have time. I'm sorry. No, to me, that's worse than failing forward. I just can't do that. So I committed myself, right? I threw my backpack over the wall there.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to give myself a week to write it and then a week to practice it. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to kill it. And Monday came around yesterday. And I hadn't even begun to crack open a book or a pencil, paper, keyboard, anything. Now, granted, I live in my head a lot. So for the last 3 weeks, I've been working on my speech in my head. But I had no real outline, no real direction. So finally last night I came home so that whole week of where I could write it and prepare it, gone. Didn't do anything. Sat down after the meeting last night and wrote out the outline, which is basically how I build my speech. I get the outline, I know where I want to go. Now I just fill the space. I told Rock Girl on the way to Toastmasters, I told her that I had the speech coming up. I hadn't done anything with it. She goes, okay, so on Thursday you're going to call me and you're going to do your speech for me. I was like, well, I can't. Yeah, honestly, I can't Thursday. Thursday's so busy, but I accept the help. So how about Friday? And we worked it out. And what I'm trying to say is we're lucky enough to have people around that will push help, but they won't push us. If we don't accept their help, shame on us. And I'm talking to you out there right now. You're talking back in your head to this whole show. Everything we're saying is hitting home with you. And you're coming up with reasons not to do it, or, man, I really like what you guys are saying, I'm just not there yet, stop it. We're your friends who are going to help you. Now, we don't push, we can't pull, because if you don't want to be moved, you don't want to be moved. But if you're coming up with excuses, the first question you got to ask is why. If you're talking back to this podcast, the first thing you got to ask yourself is, why am I really doing this? If this is hitting home so much that I'm listening on my headphones, and at least mentally responding, if not out loud responding, which I love to do in the middle of a crowd. Why? Why are you holding yourself back? Find some people. If you don't have people, which I think everybody has people. If you don't, then why? Now, we do have a caller on the line right under the wire. Shall we take it, sir?
Yes, let's.
All right. I clicked the button and 828, you are in.
Hey, it's Kamori.
Hey, Kamori.
Hey, Kamori.
Of course, you wait till the last 2 minutes of the call-in section to phone it in. So phone it in, sir. What do you got for us?
Well, I was wanting to just say, you were wanting to talk about how there was the dreams that we have, and the risks that we take for that. And when we look at something that we like to do, when we love to do it, you are worried about making it a job. And there was one thing that I always wanted to do, and that was professional gaming, to actually be a professional gamer. And at one point, I was afraid to take the chance and actually work at it, try and be that. And then suddenly, one day, I had a friend who was talking to me, and he actually let me know, he's like, look, you're really good at this. You should at least try. He's like, what do you have to lose? And it was something that I sat there and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I was wondering, is this something that I really want to do? And is it something that I believe I can get somewhere with? And I realized that it's not about me trying to get somewhere with it, but it's about me doing what I love regardless of where I end up.
There you go.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's just about trying. Because to not try is to hold back, which means, discipline rolls downhill. If you do one thing and you have a little bit of discipline, you're going to do. People who make their bed tend to be more disciplined. I mean, even just a day-to-day basis, they tend to be a little bit more successful, a little bit more disciplined with stuff. If you step into this arena just to try it, it means you're more likely to do it again when something else presents itself. However, if you hold yourself back here, you're more likely to do that. That's one of the reasons that when everything was shutting down for South by Southwest, we were like down to the wire. It's like, look, I want to do this anyways, because to not do that is going to, whether we get in or not, it's going to halt our forward momentum. That was what was important. This, doing it for its own sake. And that's the same thing with this, following this dream, at least sticking your foot in the pool and trying and testing out the water, because not doing that is going to keep you back from something else later on, which may be as important or if not more important.
So
the one thing that keys in my mind is, how can you succeed if you don't try?
There you go. Now, are you trying?
Yes, I have. The biggest thing is that I know that I can't do every single thing at once, and I have that tendency to do it because of I like playing this, and I like doing this, and I like this style of gaming. But I finally realized that I really need to figure out what I need to do. And what I seem to have really locked in on is one of my favorite professional gamers that I actually look up to. His name is Swifty, and he's very popular for his player versus player World of Warcraft playing.
Okay.
And he has been one of my I guess goals to get to where he's at, because what makes him something that I look up to is the fact that he does it to have fun, but what has gotten him to where he is now is not just his skill, but it's his love of his fans. It's how he has taken what is getting him somewhere, and he loves even the end result of it. Not just,
sure.
He loves the work. He loves watching it happen.
And there's the clock, man. But do you love what you're trying to do?
Yes, I absolutely do. And that's why in the world, when I first started doing it, I was like, I can do this. And it's just getting it done. That's all I need to do.
Cool. Well, we're definitely always, I'm going to put you on hold here. We always appreciate the calls, and everybody can call in. And Kamori, thank you for sharing that. We're going to wrap up here, but always get up and try and share your inspiration with others, like your friend did with you. What do you have to lose? That's the real question, isn't it, Mordant? You got nothing going on now. What are you going to lose by trying?
I want to thank Kamori for calling in, because,
Absolutely.
what were you going to lose by calling in? At the very least, you're going to get to talk to us, which is sometimes fun. What I want to say is, I want to give, even though he's right here anyways, I want to give Kamori another shout out, because he came up to me at the Carolina Renaissance Festival and introduced himself. I was like, oh my God, it's you. So I think there's a picture of us together out there somewhere. I'm going to find it, and if we can, post it on our Facebook page or something like that. So yeah, if you ever see us out and about, feel free to come up and say hi. If we ever open up the phone lines to you, feel free to call in. If you ever have a question about chasing and catching your dream, feel free to ask. And if you ever have to make a decision whether you should try something or whether you shouldn't try something, and if it involves your dream, absolutely try it. Because although Kamori's walking down this hallway, he's opened the door, he stepped in, and he thinks that he knows where he's going with this, and it looks like it's going in this one direction. Who knows what he's going to run into? He's going to go to the end of this hallway, and he's going to look left, and there's going to be another hallway, and there's going to be doors there that he could not see from where he was when he wasn't trying this at all. Who knows who he's going to meet? Who knows what he's going to accomplish, or what thing that he may, life-fulfilling thing that he may find that he may do that has nothing to do with gaming. Nothing. Who knows? But if he hadn't opened the door for his dream, for this dream, he wouldn't have seen the other stuff.
There you go.
So always move forward.
Like we have with iTunes. I don't care for iTunes, but you know what? People use it. A lot of people love it. So today we got our iTunes listing fixed. You can now search The Other Side of Live in iTunes, and we come up now. It's still under podcast. So the first thing they're going to pull up is a bunch of albums and MP3s. Either click on the podcast word or scroll down to the podcast section where the number one result in podcast. It's got the new logo on there. It's got the correct title. You can find us easily, and we're happy. We're sorry that it took us so long. We're happy that it's finally cleaned up and fixed.
That's it.
Where else can they find us? I'm throwing it to you. Don't drop the ball now. Try to catch it.
You know what? If you're listening to the podcast, we are live every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time at theothersideoflive.com/NAS. And of course, the NAS stands for No Agenda Stream.
You can find us.
Charles said, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So, also, if you want to listen to our older podcasts, you can go to theothersideoflive.com. We've got them all there. You can even watch our podcast, and by that I mean select pictures that we put on while the podcast is happening. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/theothersideoflive.
Or theothersideoflive.com/YouTube. It works either way.
That makes much more sense. Let's go with that.
You can also find our social media. We're on everything. We're on Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram. Now, we're still working on Pinterest, building that up. But instead of having to subscribe and follow everywhere, of course, pick your poison or take them all at once. Rebelmouse.com, REBEL mouse.com. Mine is /House of the Bear. Yours is / Mordant World.
Yeah, that's it.
And it has all of our, including our podcast, has all of our social media outing right there. You never have to sign up for anything. You don't have to have us bombard your timeline or fill up your Twitter status, whatever. You can check that out, and it's all there, and I love it. It's beautiful.
I think you're going to even find out there's we created an event, a Facebook event for the Success Freaks conference. There's nothing on it yet. I think I'm the only person that said it. He's going. You can go to our Facebook page, The Other Side of Live, Other Side of Live, or Facebook.com/The Other Side of Live. Find our Facebook page, like us, find that event, and go ahead and just give us a maybe. So at least you can find out as things unfold who's going to be speaking there, where we're going to be speaking at. I think we've already got one other speaker then, Charles and myself, but we are looking at a couple of others. It's going to be an all-day event on Friday. Right now we're looking at June 15th, and then the night before, so maybe it's going to be on Saturday, and the night before on Friday the 14th, we're going to have a little bit of a get-together and get-to-know-you thingy thing. So check that out.
And we'll, of course, fill you in as we have solid details. And one last thing, of course, it is the holiday season. And you know, whether you want to be a Grinch or not, join the club, solidarity. We give gifts, okay? That's what we do. If you're going to shop through Amazon, please shop through us. That's theothersideoflive.com /Amazon. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and it really, really changes the game for us. It gives us a little bit of a percentage back, and if you could buy, I mean, there are people out there, I'm in the same boat. You do especially if you have kids, you do $600 or $700 in gifts. Not all of that might be Amazon, but if you're inclined to shop Amazon, you know, that will bring us, that will get us through a whole month of hosting and bandwidth and everything else that goes into bringing you the show. And you don't have to donate. It's not like you're tapping your wallet out and you can't get the kid, you know, an extra sucker for his, you know, stocking. It's you're buying the suckers through Amazon anyway. It doesn't cost you anything. Please help us out. Bookmark that site, theothersideoflive.com /Amazon.
That's it. That's it.
That's it.
Right. Well, thank you for listening to us tonight on this special Success Freaks at the end of the year edition. This is our Mordant Mon.
And the Living the Life Bear.
Ciao, dream catchers. Boom, baby.